Well, let's find out, shall we? As we jump into this game one, we'll see exactly what these players have gotten a chance to bring for this very first game. And for Christopher, it's going to be the Alolan Ninetales and the Primarina. And let's take a look at what Caio has brought, Incineroar and Togekiss.
Oh, shiny Ninetales as well. It's just so pretty with that purple color, I gotta point out. But Primarina, I think a great Pokemon to have out right now. Able to get those super effective water type attacks into the Incineroar. Ninetales, of course, has super effective ice type attacks into Togekiss as well. So what's interesting this first turn is, like, Christopher probably wants to set up an Aurora Veil here, right? And you can see Caio going with the Ferrothorn, which I actually think is a fantastic Pokemon to be bringing out, specifically because it really, really walls both the Primarina and the Ninetales. So on Christopher's end, he might want to play a little bit more passively, go for a Protect on the Ninetales, eat up a Fake Out turn 1, and then you can go for an Aurora Veil safely the next turn. But you kind of have to watch out for like a Fake Out plus Max Airstream into the Ninetales slot, because then Ninetales will be outsped by Togekiss the subsequent turn. So a lot of options for Caio right now. He's actually going to go play on the defensive end.
Yeah, bringing in a Primarina of his own, and also just making the double switch here to bring out Ferrothorn as well. And I really like this, just to be able to kind of cover all of these bases, as Ninetales gets a chance to set up the Aurora Veil for free for Christopher.
Yeah, for free is the biggest point, right? It just goes for it right away on turn 1, isn't worried about a Fake Out Max Airstream double up potentially into the Ninetales slot. So great play from Christopher there just to get the Aurora Veil up immediately. Now, he's not going to be able to do very much damage going into the subsequent turn, but I think getting screens up this early on is always very, very important. One of the other questions I have is, who does Christopher have in the back? He very importantly did not go for a Dynamax on the Primarina, which I think Caio was maybe trying to bait out in the earlier game. If you commit the Primarina to maxing earlier on, then Ferrothorn is just able to wall it completely. If Christopher has something like that Cinderace in the back, that could be absolutely huge, especially because Christopher's already been able to get a little bit of chip damage on everything, right? And I think the biggest threat to the Cinderace is going to be this Primarina, but wow, it's actually going to be a Dynamax nonetheless.
Yeah, Dynamax coming through here is going to be really, really critical, especially for just trying to dish out big damage. So I really like this play coming through, just because I think Primarina is such a good offensive threat. And sitting behind the Aurora Veil as well, you're sitting very, very safe. So let's see exactly what happens as Ninetales goes for the Blizzard. Will connect onto both Pokemon, just doing a bit more chip damage, as Primarina goes for the Scald on Caio's end, just to really get a little bit of damage as well. And the Burn, not too critical here though.
Yeah, not too critical, but it's a lot of damage. Christopher actually deciding to just push the go button immediately. And I actually think it makes a ton of sense. Now, Primarina into Ferrothorn isn't a great matchup, but you've got the Aurora Veil up, and this Ferrothorn isn't going to be able to do too much damage. I mean, most Ferrothorns don't even opt for a Grass-type attack like Power Whip, because most players like the Leech Seed kind of body press set. Caio actually reveals, the cool tech and Curse here, but it's going to be tough, right? Because I think what Christopher is going to aim to do at this point is knock out everything next to the Ferrothorn, and surely he's got either Incineroar or Cinderace. Most likely that's Cinderace if I had to guess in the end game. So, Ferrothorn's already taken so much damage. Even if you get these defense boosts off, a Cinderace, fire type attack or a high jump kick will just do so much damage. So I think, Caio cannot bring in the Incineroar right now. That is just going to feint to a Max Geyser, so has to bring out the Togekiss, and I think might really try to play a little bit defensively this turn, style out another turn of Dynamax from Christopher's end, go for a Protect on that Togekiss. And this Ferrothorn is a little bit different though. It's got that Max Overgrowth, and that's why I was kind of surprised to see Primarina max immediately, because this Ferrothorn can actually be a pretty good offensive threat, but, screens are up right now.
Yeah, I'm really curious about this one. Caio might be hitting the go button too, just to be able to get rid of this Primarina threat that Christopher has on the board, as we do see Alolan Ninetales get switched out here in favor of Christopher's Incineroar. Gets the Intimidate drop, so that Curse attack boost is not going to be there anymore, as we do see that switch come through for Caio as well. Incineroar now also coming back out onto the field. A lot of similar faces in this game.
Yeah, it's just a rotating field of Incineroars right now, but I think that's actually a great switch by both players. Like you mentioned, get the Intimidate off against the Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn is actually just going to commit the max immediately, and yeah, you can see Caio opting for a little bit of a different Ferrothorn set than the traditional one, not really running Protect, and actually having Power Whip as well. But with Intimidate neutralizing Ferrothorn's attack, and with Aurora Veil being up, I actually don't think the Max Overgrowth will do a ton of damage here, but the switch out here, to take a potential Max Hailstorm, and that's actually exactly what comes out. It's a nice switch by Caio there.
Almost like a little bit of that switch and bait with the Togekiss coming through and then the Incineroar coming in. So really, really nice play from Caio as the Max Overgrowth comes out. And Primarina, I think, yeah, that kind of Intimidate drop actually really mattering there to be able to just ensure that survival for the Primarina.
Yeah, so able to stick around for a little bit longer now. And that's critical as well. You know, this Ferrothorn doesn't have a recovery item as we've seen, so normally you see something like Leftovers, for example, so it's healing back a little bit every turn. It's gotten the Curse off, though, so far, you know, and I believe it has the Aqua Berry as well, so a Flare Blitz into LaFerrothorn. I'm not sure we'll pick up the knockout either, so yeah, this is going to be a really interesting endgame. I mean, Ferrothorn taking so much chip damage already makes it a little bit tougher, but of course, there is going to be one extra turn of Dynamax on Ferrothorn's end. And opting for the Steel Spike here is interesting, you know, because I'm not sure that I actually will pick up the knockout instead of, you know, just going for the Overgrowth safely. And what's tough here is also, you know, is the Primarina just going to target the Incineroar and go for a Max Geyser? I think that's like a super, super safe play. Once again, you just pick up another knockout. So let's see.
Fake Out comes out. Just to be able to make sure that the Incineroar flinches on Christopher's end as the Max Geyser comes through. And this is kind of Christopher's game plan, going after all of the partners around the Ferrothorn just to be able to try to get those knockouts, predicting no switch here, and also setting up the rain for this Primarina later once the Dynamax is over. So getting a key knockout onto the Incineroar and also setting up the rain. Now, we do see the Ferrothorn go for it, that Max Steel Spike, but you were right, Aaron, it's not enough to knock out this Primarina. It's sticking around.
Yeah, I think Caio actually went for that, though, because he knows that he's got Togekiss in the back, right? So Togekiss can now come out. Primarina's pretty slow. So it's actually a really smart decision, I think, because Caio recognizes my late game win condition is all about this Ferrothorn. Now he's at +2 defense with it, and there is, you know, still another turn of Max as well, right? So the Togekiss can come out. You can go for something just like a Dazzling Gleam. You've stalled out Primarina's Max, get another defense boost. And then now with Togekiss actually protects this Ferrothorn incredibly well, right? So you get a third defense boost off, Ninetales in the back. It's not going to do that much damage. I mean, Blizzards are still pretty strong, but, you know, it's not going to probably pick up a knockout onto either Pokemon. So what's really interesting here is, yeah, you could just go for a Follow Me to cover for the Flare Blitz option, but given that Rain is up and you've got all these defense boosts on the Aqua Berry, Kyle's not even worried about a Flare Blitz, just wants to go for a Dazzling Gleam to knock out, and I think that's a very smart play.
Absolutely. Togekiss is going to be faster than the Primarina, so just gets a chance to fire off that Dazzling Gleam first. And Parting Shot comes through from the Incineroar, just trying to mitigate some of the damage that's coming through from Caio's Ferrothorn. But I think also it provides a really key pivot to Christopher, just to be able to try to reposition on the board for this late game.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed. Oh my goodness, it's actually Ferrothorn in the end for Christopher. Ferrothorn. Oh boy.
Wow. Oh,
wow.
Taking that Max Steel Spike too. That's really good for Christopher.
Yeah, but, you know, Caio's Ferrothorn has gotten all these defense boosts off. And I mean, I'm curious about the set like Christopher is running alone. So he's got Leftovers on the Ferrothorn. So, you know, that's kind of the more common item. But Caio's gotten all these boosts off with his Ferrothorn, right? It's at +3 defense at this point, I believe. And it's able to, you know, dish out a lot of damage. You got that initial Curse off, and then those 2 Steel Spikes off as well. So it's able to get, you know, pretty consistent damage with body presses. And so, like you mentioned, great pivot, though, by Christopher saying you're able to recycle in the Incineroar. That's really critical to get a Fake Out off. But I don't know. I think Caio might have positioned himself for a great late-game Ferrothorn sweep. I mean, he's taken a lot of damage. It's around, you know, 50%, but he's got all these defense boosts. And so I think, like, what Christopher is going for is to just do enough damage where he can just, like, bring the Ninetales back out and click Blizzard. I was kind of surprised, actually, to not see Ninetales come out immediately and just get the hail damage going and, you know, get Blizzard on the field. You also get rid of the rain so that Togekiss can go for Flare, or Incineroar can Flare Blitz the Ferrothorn later on.
Oh, I'm just seeing the body press choice by Caio, just to maybe knock out this Ferrothorn. I really like the double up from Caio in order to ensure damage onto the Ferrothorn, and also gets the flinch.
Whoa, okay, that's a big one, because I think if Ferrothorn getting any attack off there, whether it be a Iron Defense or a Steel type attack into Togekiss, is a really, really big deal. But yeah, able to get the flinch, and, you know, the grassy terrain makes this a little bit more difficult for Christopher as well, because the Ferrothorn's actually healing back every turn, and I think Body Press at this point is going to just very cleanly knock out the Incineroar. So I think this is a nice play this turn. You know, once again, not really worried about the Flare Blitz. You know the Ferrothorn's got in the defense boost, the rain is up, the Aqua Berry is there, so Flare Blitz itself is actually not going to do very much damage. Christopher might want to go for a parting shot to, you know, read into that, but once again, he's trying to just chip away at the Ferrothorn and then bring in Ninetales to click Blizzard, and oh, I love the Darkest Lariat, he's got it, and that means you can ignore the defense boosts.
Yeah, that's gonna be a huge amount of damage with the critical hit, too. So even though Incineroar is going to take a little bit of chip from the Iron Barbs, Ferrothorn goes for the Iron defense here. Christopher's buying himself some time.
Yeah, going for the Darkest Lariat, first of all, revealing that is really, really critical. A lot of players not even opting for that move anymore. So you knock out the Incineroar, but now Ninetales... Oh, wait, you don't! It hangs out!
No,
around.
you didn't!
What? It literally looked like it had 0 HP.
That had to be 1.
It had to, yeah. Oh my goodness. I mean, honestly, I don't think Christopher would have minded a knockout there, because then you get the free switching into Ninetales, and then you can just click the Blizzard button. But the fact that the Incineroar has Darkest Lariat and is able to, you know, actually get one off against Ferrothorn is really critical. Kyle not opting for Follow Me's, which would have been a little bit safer. I think I would have liked to see that from his end, honestly, because I think Ferrothorn is pretty much the entire win condition. It's kind of like what we've previously seen in this tournament with the Corviknight and the Amoonguss in that last set. So, yeah, I mean, now that Ferrothorn takes all of that damage, it's going to be pretty difficult because Ninetales Blizzards are going to do a fair amount. Kyle, once again, not going for those Follow Me's either. And gets a flinch, though, okay.
Flinches!
But the Body Press comes out.
We see the Body Press come through, yeah, and that's going to be Christopher's Ferrothorn moving faster than Caio, so that win condition that Caio had set up with the 3 defense boosts onto this Ferrothorn, that Ferrothorn is gone now.
Yeah, and I think Caio just needed to protect the Ferrothorn more with Follow Me's. The Air Slashes were never doing very much damage, and you can maybe get some flinches off, but I don't think those flinches are as critical. That being said, you know, I mean, Christopher, of course, can launch Body Press or Flare Blitz or Darkest Lariat into the Ferrothorn slot, but Follow Me kind of covers all of those options, so I was very surprised to see Caio in this late game just not protect the Ferrothorn with Follow Me as much, but now definitely not going to be able to do very much, and yeah, I thought, like, you know, really cool play from both players where, like, Christopher gets this early game Aurora Veil up, gets a lot of damage with Primarina, and then actually has Ferrothorn in the late game, which I thought was pretty scary because, like, something like Cinderace, you know, able to do a lot. And, oh my goodness, this Incineroar is still on the field. We see another flinch, but really able to do too much at this point. Like, it's a 3v1.
Wow.
And
Look at that.
I like, do not even see any HP on Incineroar's end. Like, it literally looks like it's at 0 HP. So, the fact it's been able to hang on twice is so clutch.
Oh, and Ferrothorn avoids the Air Slash, too. I think Caio was really hoping for the flinch there or just to buy himself some time, but that last Flare Blitz from Christopher is going to be enough to knock out Caio's Togekiss. Christopher takes this game 1.
This...
Incineroar finally gets knocked out.
It does, yeah. I mean, after being at what literally looked like 1 HP both times, I don't know, I think the gameplay was really cool from both players.
Let's go ahead and get into it and see exactly whether or not Caio decides to change things up a little bit or decides to stick to the same strategy. We do see Christopher's Pokemon come out first, which is going to be that Primarina and Ferrothorn this time around. And for Caio, it is Dragapult and Togekiss.
Christopher saw what Caio did with Ferrothorn. He's like, I can do it better, so I'm just going to bring out Ferrothorn this time around. I think, once again, what's really big is, you know, both players getting access to their team sheets, so knowing that Caio does not have a fire-type attack on, you know, say, like Dragapult or Togekiss is a really big deal. Normally with Ferrothorn, you have to play a lot more respectful of potential random fire-type attacks from your opponent's team. This open team sheet format makes it a lot more interesting, and you can bring Ferrothorn a lot safer, right? So this time around, Caio actually opting for full damage output with the Dragapult immediately. You know, just trying to go for Phantasm, Max Phantasm, get some defense drops. You've got Togekiss for Follow Me here, but, you know, you can maybe read into Primarina not going for a Max Starfall into Dragapult. Max Starfall would do a lot of damage, but I believe we saw that the Dragapult actually has the weakness policy, so maybe it's trained to survive the Starfall.
Yeah, that would be super, super clutch if that does come through. But I think Caio has called this correctly, that this Ferrothorn is going to be a really, really big problem if Christopher is able to get it up and running like Caio was able to do in that first game. In particular, you know, I think this is one of the reasons why the Firewater Grass Core is just so good for a team, because if you're really covering your bases here, you've got Primarina on the field in case Caio had decided to bring Incineroar, and kind of vice versa. You have a lot of different ways to really cover your bases. So I love that also Christopher is going for the Dynamax here early with Primarina.
Yeah, big question is, did it go for a Starfall into Dragapult? Maybe just wanted to pick up a Knockout onto Togekiss with like a Max Hailstorm. I think that would make a ton of sense. It would be a fantastic play here. So, you can see how much of a defensive tank Ferrothorn is. It takes less than 50% from that Max Phantasm.
Yeah, that's not very much damage, especially when you recognize that you've got to knock out this Ferrothorn somehow. So I think doubling into it is definitely one way to do so. Air Slash might be able to get you the flinch, but Primarina's moving first with the Max Starfall right into Dragapult, and it's not enough. Not close.
So much bulk there, and that just activates a weakness policy here on Dragapult's end. So suddenly, you've got the defense drop on both ends, and you get the weakness policy activated. You're doing so much damage with this Dragapult. And the Ferrothorn flinches.
Ooh,
this... I haven't seen a Serene Grace Togekiss in a while, but it's looking like that's the case here, given how many flinches the Togekiss has gotten. So, this ends up, I think, being a pretty good turn for Caio's end. You don't have to worry about the Ferrothorn very much anymore. I think you can go for what I thought was, a pretty safe follow me this turn just to protect the Dragapult for another turn, because of course Christopher could just go for Max Hailstorm into the Dragapult slot. That covers the follow me option as well. So I think, Caio playing really aggressive, just going for Air Slash, trying to get another flinch, but I don't know if you actually really need a flinch right now. We'll see what Christopher decided to go for, though. I think Max Hailstorm into Dragapult is typically a very safe play, so Caio might get punished here.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering what was going to happen here as Dragapult goes for the Max Phantasm right into the Primarina.
Oh, never mind. That's just a knockout.
So much. That is going to be a knockout. Primarina's not going to get a chance to use Max Hailstorm even if it wanted to.
Yeah, so, Caio making a riskier play there, probably knowing in confidence that that's just going to pick up the knockout. And oh my goodness, that was so much power coming out immediately. Another Air Slash comes out, and Ferrothorn also for a Leech Seed doesn't even connect, and pretty much... Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah, I thought maybe Primarina could hang on there, but perhaps I overestimated its bulk. I don't know. I think like if Primarina is very, very defensive, curious what the damage roll there is, especially because some Dragapults, especially weakness policy variants, don't opt for very much attack investment at all. So I'm wondering if that was a guaranteed KO. If not, I think Follow Me once again is still a safer play on Togekiss because you don't really need to redirect away from Ferrothorn. But perhaps Caio knows Dragapult is just max offense and doing the damage calculation, recognizes Primarina cannot survive that even if it's super, super bulky. So ends up with a very favorable trade. And I think he's just in full position to just win this game off a fantastic turn one play.
Yeah, some really great, great turn one play to be able to set up for the defense drop, and then great turn two play to just be able to follow that up with the weakness policy boost. So I'm really I kind of think we're going to a game 3.
Ferrothorn's going to protect itself, but what can it really do in this position, right? Not going to be able to really do any damage. We've seen the Leech Seed, we've seen the Protect. It's obviously more defensive. Ferrothorn doesn't look like he has a Steel type attack, not really opting for any of those into the Togekiss slot. So, Max Airstream giving a slight speed boost here. I don't know, I think like Follow Me there is safer just so you like conserve the Dragapult for further. But I can understand the decision to try to pick up the knockout on the Ferrothorn and maybe go for a flinch. It's just that Dragapult would have been a +3 attack and then can go for like Phantom Forces later on. So, Caio, not really opting to really go for Follow Me at any point, but still in a pretty commanding position.
Yeah.
And he's got his own Incineroar and Ferrothorn in the back.
This is Caio. Yeah, the Incineroar is going to definitely help with being able to take out this Ferrothorn that Christopher has on the field. But, honestly, Eric, this is Caio we're talking about. The guy hasn't used Follow Me at all.
No, we can see the moves, Rosemary, and I'm still questioning, does he have Follow Me? He hasn't gone for it at all, but I think in this game it made a lot of sense, right? Like, with the Flare Blitz safely in the back, you Flare Blitz Air Slash, that covers all the options. The Incineroar set is actually really interesting as well, as he has more offense than usual, so that means the Incineroar will win in the 1v1 Incineroar matchup. Air Slash once again going into the opposing Incineroar, but at this point I think Christopher can only go for a parting shot, maybe a Flare Blitz critical hit onto the Togekiss, but it looks like he's going to opt for the first one.
Yeah, parting shot comes through, so gonna be able to drop Incineroar's attack and special attack, but I think this pivot's really good again for Christopher. We get a chance to see that fourth and final Pokemon that Christopher has decided to bring to the second one, and it is gonna be Alola Ninetales that... you're right about the shiny being super, super pretty.
Unfortunately, I don't think that will save it in this one, Rosemary. I think the Incineroar alone, actually, I think carries Caio at this point because he's got the Flare Blitz for Ferrothorn. He's got the Flare Blitz for the Ninetales. He can just switch Incineroar out and back in, and as we saw, has that Stomping Tantrum as well. So I think, what was so pivotal in this game was just the first 2 turns, right? The fact that Max Starfall doesn't even come close to knocking out the Dragon Bolt, the fact that Christopher activated that weakness policy, and the fact that Ferrothorn was absolutely useless for Christopher in this early game. I think Christopher maybe was hoping for Kyle to play a little bit more defensively, but Kyle makes a fantastic adjustment going with the Dragon Bolt immediately. It even pays off because Christopher was very kind enough to activate that weakness policy right from the start.
Yeah, that weakness policy boost definitely coming in to really help with Caio's game plan, but I think that's one of the reasons why I love leading with Dragapult. Not only is it a super fast Pokemon, so you're able to dish out tons of damage, but also if you've trained it in a certain way, then you've trained it to be able to survive some of those crucial super effective attacks.
Absolutely. So Caio once again recognizing all I need to do is bring Incineroar out and back in at this point. I'm not going to take much damage from Ninetales. Ninetales is a really interesting Pokemon because it has an incredible move in the Aurora Veil, but it's not able to do very much other than that, right? Like, you're able to, at best, go for damage with, like, Blizzard, and that is pretty much it. Ninetales' offense is pretty lackluster, and it's walled very, very hard by the Incineroar in the back. So I think, you know, you're seeing Caio just opt for safe plays here. Swap out that Incineroar. Don't have to even deal with the potential freeze, and you swap out the Intimidate. Then you can just bring it back in and cleanly knock out the Ninetales, and another Air Slash comes out. Incineroar finally dodges it this time around. So maybe Ninetales can go for some freezes, but I still think Incineroar just wins this for Caio at this point alone.
Yeah, and Incineroar goes for the Flare Blitz. You can see that Caio's Ferrothorn is once again set up for this very specific attack. Oh, but it gets knocked out.
Okay, so, you know, it's end up enough to, you know, pick up the knockout, but I don't think Ferrothorn really matters at this point anyway. You're going to take so much recoil from Hail, Iron Barbs.
Yeah, that's true.
That, you know, it's just one attack away from getting knocked out. And once again, like, I think, like, Caio could have literally only had Incineroar and probably still would have won this anyway, because you get the Intimidate off and you just don't take any damage from the opposing end. So now you can just bring out the Incineroar, go for, like, a fake out Dazzling Gleam, and then just Flare Blitz to clean up this one. So I'm really interested in seeing how Game 3 plays out here, because both players have opted for very different modes in Game 1 and Game 2. I mean, Christopher did end up bringing the same Pokemon, but he led that Ferrothorn, and by not getting that early Aurora Veil up, I think it really, really cost him.
Well, I wonder, Aaron, if Christopher should think about bringing either Alolan Ninetales in the very beginning, or maybe bringing Togekiss.
Yeah.
Especially if Caio decides to go for something super offensive again.
Absolutely. Yeah, Togekiss, you know, can go for Airstream boosts, and it can also obviously go for Max Starfall. So, you know, one big question I have is Christopher's opted for the same 4 Pokemon. What kind of sets does he have? I personally have actually been a little bit surprised to not see Cinderace come out. But Cinderace, I think it's often very dependent on what moveset you have, right? If you don't have something like Max Airstream or Max Darkness, you might suffer against the Dragapult significantly more. So perhaps Cinderace does not have those attacks, because if not, then the Dragapult can just consistently outspeed you and decrease your attack with these Max Wyrmwinds as well. So yeah, I mean, Caio's gonna take this one very convincingly after, I think, just back-to-back fantastic plays turn 1 and turn 2. And I think, like you said, an adjustment Christopher can make is just bring out the Ninetales as the lead again, set up that Aurora Veil, and he goes for Aurora Veil in the late game, but that's not gonna save you this time around, Ninetales, unfortunately.
No, too bad for Christopher in this Game 2, but looking forward to Game 3, I definitely think some adjustments could be made to either bring the Ninetales in front, maybe bring the Togekiss, or even consider bringing the Cinderace, depending on what moveset it has. So a lot of different options that Christopher could go for here, but Caio takes a second game, and already thinking about that Game 3.
Yeah, and I think, like, it's really hard to not, like, Primarina is such a great max option in this game, so I think...
Well, I'm really interested to see these leads for Game 3, because I think that turn 0 is going to matter a lot, especially when you take a look at how things played out for Game 2. So, I don't know. I definitely think that some adjustments could be made here. As we get into this Game 3, we do see Christopher go for the Ninetales and the Primarina. And let's see what Caio has decided to bring to this Game 3. Dragapult and Togekiss. Aaron, there's a Ninetales on the field in front of 2 Pokemon that really don't want to look at it.
Yeah, this gets really interesting now. I am curious if Dragapult can actually get a one-hit KO onto the Ninetales with, like, a Max Phantasm. Max Airstream is actually a really cool option as well, because then you can go for the Max Airstream, Dazzling Gleam, or Air Slash. If you know, are able to just double up into Ninetales and pick up a knockout, that's huge. And then even if the Ninetales survives, you know, you can maybe get a critical hit onto it, or a flinch, I should say. So I actually really like the decision to go for the Airstream for speed control immediately. Christopher, of course, can get around this by going for a Protect on that Ninetales if he has it. If you go for something like a Protect, Dynamax Supreme Marina, and just go for a Max Hailstorm on a Togekiss, I think that's a very favorable trade turn 1. So we'll have to see, especially because Ninetales does end up staying in.
Yeah, we do see Christopher go for the Dynamax here onto Primarina, so I'm kind of expecting that some type of attack is going to come out. But as we saw in Game 2, maybe not targeting down the Dragapult this time around just because of the weakness policy boost. You might want to stay away from that one. But we'll see what Christopher has decided to target down with this Primarina, if at all. As we do see the Max Airstream come through, no Protect for this Ninetales. But
oh my
that's
goodness,
not too
though.
much damage.
Look at that bulk! Dragapult is not that strong when you don't have a Life Orb onto it, and once again, I mean, it's a weakness policy set, so maybe not as much investment, so I think he'll even be able to survive the Air Slash. If it doesn't flinch here, that would be huge. Oh, but it flinches!
Oh, but it flinches! Primarina goes for the Max Hailstorm, though, and it is going to go into the Togekiss, so I would say, you know, with the survival, wow.
Clutch survival there as well. Not only does Kyle get the flinch, this has got to be a super luck, you know, or sorry, excuse me, not super luck, Serene Grace Togekiss. It's gotten so many flinches at this point, and you know, Kyle very heavily prioritizes this Air Slash strategy. So, you know, I think if Ninetales gets the Aurora Veil up here, that's absolutely huge, but now in a really tough position, especially because Christopher doesn't even get the knockout there. So you spend another turn to knock out the Togekiss here. What does Ninetales do? You can maybe go for a Protect. That allows you to actually probably survive an Airstream or switch out. The last option is to just sacrifice and get a free switch in. But, oh, it's actually Phantasm into a Primarina. So, you know, gets the defense drop. Curious if Ninetales maybe has enough bulk, and maybe it's a damage roll as to whether or not it actually gets knocked out here. But let's see.
Yeah, Air Slash comes through onto the Ninetales. We're about to find out whether or not it's going to be enough. And Ninetales does faint, so that Air Slash was enough to be able to get the knockout here as Max Starfall comes through from Christopher's Primarina into the Togekiss. Doesn't have too much health left, so will be able to go down.
I think, you know, Christopher recognizing once again, you cannot let the weakness policy get activated. It's exactly why he went for the safer Hailstorm this time around. Would have had a lot better of a time, I think, if the Roar Veil actually ends up going up. But at least this time around, Dragapult's not sitting at, you know, +2 attack immediately. That being said, I think Kyle's still in a pretty decent spot, as of course Ferrothorn has, you know, those super effective power whips into the Primarina. But this is a really close game, I think, this time around. I mean, Ninetales wasn't able to do very much for Christopher, but at least he was able to bring it out and put pressure on with it immediately. I think you could see Kyle, you know, coming up with a really clever play to get around the Ninetales turn 1. Ninetales' bulk, definitely impressive, but, you know, Primarina still putting on pressure with one more turn of Max. Christopher is actually going to opt to bring out his own Ferrothorn, and oh, that is not what you want to have out when Kyle brings out his Incineroar. Great switch in here for Kyle.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, if Christopher in this scenario really kind of has to figure out what they want to do. Do you target down the Dragapult? Do you try to target down the Incineroar? Do you have to make a defensive switch with the Ferrothorn as well? Really tough call for Christopher to make.
Yeah, what's interesting here is, I mean, like, Primarina does have a turn of Max, right? You can go for something just like a Max Geyser into the Ferrothorn. Or sorry, Primarina can Max Geyser into the Incineroar, as I saw Flare targeting the Ferrothorn here. So, you know, Kyle actually opting to maybe potentially take a ton of damage this turn. And I like this switch out. Ferrothorn is going to go out into the Incineroar. I think that's a fantastic bait and switch. We've seen a lot of these defensive switches throughout the course of this tournament. And I think, once again, bringing something out just to switch it out immediately, I think is a very, very clever play.
It really is, because now you're really kind of taking away this pressure from the Incineroar that Kyle has brought out. Ooh, so
Primarina
much damage
on.
onto this Primarina, though.
Yeah, but critically, you know, being able to hang on means that it's going to be able to get an attack off, because Incineroar did not target that slot. I wonder if a Flare Blitz after those defense drops would have picked up the knockout. Maybe. But once again, Christopher going for that bait and switch, and if Primarina goes for a Max Geyser now, which it does, this might be really interesting, because now I'm wondering, can Kyle actually beat Christopher's Ferrothorn at this point? The rain is set up. So, you know, Incineroar isn't going to be able to do very much, but it's a 2v3 position here, and Dragapult, I think, is relatively useless at this point because it never really got its weakness policy activated, and, more critically, this Ferrothorn cannot heal itself, and it doesn't have Protect. So, it might be a battle of the Ferrothorns to end this one.
It's going to be a really interesting endgame for both of these players, and I'm just taking a look at the fact that, Dynamax is over for both Caio and Christopher, and we had that beautiful bait and switch just a turn before for Christopher to be able to preserve that Ferrothorn for later. But I am really wondering, how does Caio get through when Incineroar is actually super healthy right now, and Christopher's Ferrothorn is in the back just sitting and waiting?
Yeah, what's really interesting here, like, Caio has to make the decision of whether to just go for the attacks immediately. As you can see, he doesn't want to opt for a Curse because you also want to potentially cover a Ferrothorn switch out. Or switch in, but it's actually going to be the Primarina switching out, so the Body Press won't be going into the correct slot. Fake Out's also going to come out, so it actually doesn't even really end up mattering, so a pretty safe play there as you get Ferrothorn in safely. Now, Dragapult gets a little bit of damage with Dragon Darts, but man, I'm really curious who wins the Ferrothorn war here, because I think, Christopher is able to get, if he has, the Iron Defense, able to get multiple defense boosts, and he's got the Leech Seed for healing, whereas Caio does not have recovery with his team.
Yeah, that is super important to think about. You can see that Caio is going for the Phantom Force onto the Ferrothorn just to try to get as much damage off onto that Ferrothorn as possible. Recognizes that Ferrothorn is going to be a really big problem for this endgame, but you also got to worry about this Incineroar too, so kind of have to separate your goals a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Phantom Force will be able to do a little bit of damage, but we haven't really seen Christopher actually play very much with this Ferrothorn up until this point. I think Parting Shot, great play here. You do not need to target Dragapult whatsoever, and if anything, you don't want to activate a weakness policy by going for a Darkest Lariat, right? So just get a switch out. You're able to cycle Intimidates back in and out. Intimidate actually not really super relevant here, but Incineroar also be able to cycle Fake Out is, I think, a really big deal. Primarina is relatively useless at this point, but could potentially just knock out the Dragapult next turn. And there's the Iron Defense. I think Christopher's Ferrothorn actually is in a really commanding position here, because once again, yeah, you're playing the war of Iron Defense versus Curse, right? And Body Press here, is not enough to knock out Primarina.
It's not. What is with Christopher's Pokemon? Just must really like him.
I know, it looks like 1 HP once again, so Phantom Force gonna go on in a Ferrothorn. Now, Primarina can just go for Moonblast into the Dragapult slot. Try to pick up a knockout onto that. And there's the Moonblast, and now it's 3v1, and I just don't see how Caio wins this if the Moonblast is able to pick up the knockout, which is able to do so.
Yeah, this Ferrothorn matchup makes it really difficult for Caio. I mean, you're seeing, again, this Iron Defense is going to make it so difficult for Caio to even get through the defenses of this Ferrothorn. And in this situation as well, sure, you can go for the Body Press to get the knockout on a Primarina, but guess what's coming back in? The Incineroar with Fake Out.
Yeah, you can just bring in Incineroar, click Fake Out, and go for another Iron Defense, and then finally click Body Press to win. So I think if anything, Caio maybe needed to try to, I don't know, get a Body Press critical hit onto Christopher's end at that point. But it was so interesting, that both players brought Ferrothorn, and I think in the end, what was just really important was that Ferrothorn was a really essential late game win condition to Christopher, right? If you look at Caio's team, he actually doesn't have very much damage into the opposing Ferrothorn. At best, you have Flare Blitz from the Incineroar. That's why I was kind of surprised to see Caio just bring out the Incineroar and let it faint to a Max Geyser, because I thought that was one of the more important ways to actually deal with Christopher's Ferrothorn, right? So I was thinking on Caio's end, you want to bait out the last turn of damage from the Primarina, try to knock it out, and then go from there. But maybe Caio was expecting the Max Phantasm to just pick up the knockout, and by not knocking it out and Incineroar fainting, that was absolutely critical. So yeah, Fake Out, very safe play here from Christopher's end, and looks like he's just going to opt for the Body Press this time around. And that should pick up the knockout here.
What a fantastic series between Christopher and Caio. Christopher's Ferrothorn able to clutch it out in the very end. So congratulations to Christopher for taking this series.